Coming up on today's episode of DLLS Mavs, what lessons did the Mavericks learn from last year's run to the NBA Finals? Plus, we preview Naji Marshall's upcoming season. All that and more on today's episode of DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Mavs Nation, it's your man Kevin Gray alongside Mavericks insider Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single day. You can find me on X at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato, at Bobby Carella. Make sure you subscribe to DLLS Sports and check out alldlls.com/diehard to become a diehard member today. So much to get to on today's episode. We are just days away from Media Day for your Dallas Mavericks and training camp as well. What's the biggest lesson the Mavericks have learned from last year's run to the finals? We preview Naji Marshall season and your favorite NBA players that you're excited to watch this upcoming year. But before we get to any of our fantastic conversations today, Tim, Bobby, what's going on?
I'm doing well. Played a little basketball last night. Last night, I was like, I could give the Mavericks some spot minutes. And then I woke up this morning and my lower back, my hamstring, they're disagreeing.
They remind you that you can't probably do that.
Yeah.
Got you.
No, so no back-to-backs in store for you?
No back-to-backs. I'm going to need a full physical therapy team. Yeah.
Well, that's tough. I don't know anything about PT.
Yeah. Missed one shot. Made the rest.
How many shots you take?
Yeah, that's
11 or 12.
Okay,
Whoa.
okay.
Yeah.
Look at you.
All right.
11 to 12. Okay, 10 of 11.
Yeah.
Now, what Tim didn't tell you is that he played basketball last night with 3-year-olds. So he was just...
I would have missed a lot more.
Layups right around.
He would have missed a lot more.
I played with some old coworkers of yours.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
No comment.
Bobby, what's going on, man?
Hello, Kevin.
Not NBA players, for the record.
Hello, Kevin. It is a great day to be around. I did not play basketball last night. I played a
You
little
were
bit.
invited.
I was. I played a little bit of Pokemon Unite, and I turned in early. I'm a tired boy right now. I'm very tired.
Oh, so he was up a little late last night? Too much Pokemon
No, he wasn't.
fun?
No, I
he
was
was
not up
tired
late.
yesterday, and he went to bed early, and he's still complaining about being
I was
tired.
up late for a few nights before. I'm getting to the age
Okay.
now where if I stay up too late one time, I feel it for like 5 days
Oh, it
afterwards.
wrecks your whole week.
Yeah, it's like,
I
it
feel
is
that.
tough. I'm playing catch up for weeks.
Yeah, I stayed up last night watching some WNBA playoffs. So shout out to the Liberty and also the Aces. They're going to be they advanced to the
Rematch.
I know, right? That's a finals rematch from last year. I'm sad that the Aces were a 4 seed and of course Liberty number 1 seed. So we'll see that in the semifinals versus a finals rematch from last year. But Kelsey Plum was on last night and it was great. And shout out to Sabrina Ionescu, had 36 last night for the Liberty. So yeah, Liberty Aces cinema in the WNBA semifinals. Hopefully it's going to be a movie for your Mavericks this year like it was last year on the way to the NBA Finals. Looking forward to seeing what they do this upcoming year, which prompts us for our first conversation today, gentlemen. Let us know in the chat as well. What's a lesson or lessons that the Mavericks learned from last year's finals that you want them to carry into this upcoming season? Again, we're just days away from Media Day and from training camp as the Mavericks get ready to try and make another run at the NBA Finals. Tim, I'll start with you. What lessons or lesson that is most important for you did the Mavericks learn or should have learned last year that they got to carry into this upcoming year?
Sometimes I do start.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure Bobby's tired, so I want to make sure that I started with Tim today.
I'm still wakey.
Yeah, let him wake up a little bit more.
I've got a team-wide lesson and a individual lesson.
Okay.
The team-wide lesson is just that the playoffs are hard. They're difficult. They're tough. There's a lot that's going on, and I think it's very good that this whole team has playoff experience now, deep playoff experience for the most part. You know, outside of a guy like Quentin Grimes or Naji Marshall, but even those guys have playoff experience. And coming into a team, a culture that, you know, has been to the finals, there's a lot of lessons you learn throughout that. You know, Derek Lively learned lessons. You know, I remember media day, the media day before the finals, and I've told the story before, but he's walking through and he spots me and he's like, somebody I know, and he's just like remarking how many, just how buzzy and how it's a circus early on, and you've got to stay locked in. And we saw Derek Lively the first couple games, he wasn't that good, and then he adjusted and he was much better for the Mavericks in that final series. Individually, it's all about Luka and Luka understanding that for him to be his best, he has to be his best going into the postseason. And of course, he couldn't control the fact that he had a knee sprain, and that was something that affected him. But just once again being reminded, much in the same way that Kyrie builds his whole season around being ready for the postseason. I think Luka is continuing to learn that lesson, and we're going to see a Luka who is ready to play. What's the most number of games you can play in the playoffs? 7 times 4, 28 games? Yeah. He's ready to go 28 if he needs to. Like, he understands that's difficult, and he understands it's important. And I think he's more ready than ever to be that player.
Mine is a philosophical thing and a statistical thing.
Which philosopher is it most akin to?
Well, as Socrates once said, size matters.
Niche?
Folks, size matters. But here's how, okay? So in the regular season, effective size is a game breaker. It is a game wrecker. And
effective size just means that you're playing up to your size.
You're big and you're bigger than the other team, and you're letting them know every possession.
Just being really big and tall doesn't mean you're an NBA player. But Daniel Gafford is somebody who plays bigger even if he's only 6'9", 6'10".
Yeah. And after the deadline last year, I mean, the Mavs were they were racking up points in the paint. This is a team that was near the bottom in points in the paint before the deadline and near the top after, if not even number one after, although the last couple games kind of skew everything whenever they weren't playing those guys. But the Mavs were able to get a ton of dunks, a ton of easy shots, a ton of offensive rebounds, a ton of defensive rebounds, quite a few blocks, and they were able to be big at other positions too. PJ Washington in this era is pretty big as a power forward most of the time. Luka is very big defending threes or twos or whoever he's guarding. The Mavs are a big, bad, strong, fast team, and they were able to impose their will on games that way, and that's really important. The flip side of that is in the playoffs, your size has to be effective playing smaller. And Derek Lively was able to figure that out as the pace of the game got faster in the finals. Daniel Gafford struggled with that at times against teams that played a little smaller. So while the Mavs' strength after the deadline was their size, in the playoffs, especially, your size has to figure out how to fit in. Statistically, though.
Yep, I was gonna let it slide, but Tim laughed, and I was like, "Yep,
unintentional, baby. That's what I do."
Why do you think we labeled it like we did?
Yeah, so
we weren't not going to make jokes about it.
Here's a stat. Here's a stat for you. All right, we talked yesterday about how the Mavs found different ways to win. Their identity was they figured out how to be versatile, right? So last season, when the Mavs, this according to Basketball Reference, which their offensive and defensive rating is a little higher than NBA.com. When the Mavs' offensive rating in a game was 120 or better, which is like pretty good. Yeah. All right. That's pretty dang good. They were 35-2. When their offensive rating was below 120, so when they just weren't like a top 5, top 10, top 5 caliber offense, they were 7-26 before the trade deadline in those games.
Wow.
7-26. They were 8-2 in those games after the trade deadline.
When their offensive rating was 120 or below.
When their offensive rating was below 120. Yeah.
Wow.
After.
Now they're so excited.
That's not including the 2 games at the very end of the season whenever they weren't playing anybody. So they had an 80% win rate whenever they were just like fine on offense after the team meeting. Mm-hmm. Sorry, not the trade deadline. After the team meeting on March 7th. All right.
After they played all those five spacing centers, shooting centers.
Oh my God, and got absolutely cooked. And that was
when the Pacers beat the brakes off of them.
And the Celtics.
That's right.
And I was very nervous about the playoffs after that stretch, but they were able to figure something out. But they were 7-26 in those games before that. Now, according to NBA stats, the Mavs were 8-23 last season when their defensive rating was worse than Utah's in a game, which is 119.6. That was the worst in the NBA. So when they defended at the rate of the worst team in the NBA, they won 25% of their games. They were 42-9 whenever it wasn't the worst.
Wow.
So even if they defended like the 27th best team or the 24th best team or the first best team, they won 80% of their games, 42-9. They were damn near invincible whenever they just weren't the worst. So if there's a lesson to be learned, it's to not be the worst.
Just don't be bad.
Don't be the worst defensive team. Your offense is good enough to win you games. Your defense just has to be good enough not to lose them. And I go back to that stat all the time. If you watch any of my streams at the Mavs, I brought that up all the time. Don't be the worst. That is the lesson to be learned. Now, every team struggles when they're the worst, but the problem is the Mavs were the worst in 31 of their games. Almost half of their games, they defended like the worst team in the league. Don't do that anymore. Don't do that, Kevin.
Yeah.
Tim, don't do that.
No, it makes sense because a lot of the narrative we went into last year with was if this Mavericks team could just be average on defense, offensively, they're going to score a lot of points and should be able to win a lot of games. And those statistics speak to exactly that. If you're not playing as the worst defense in the league, you're going to win a lot of these games because your offense is good enough. And now they've learned how to win in a variety of ways that even when they're not playing well offensively, they're still good enough defensively to find ways to win games. So that's a massive lesson learned based off of those statistics there.
Can I give you one quick follow-up too on that? So 21-22, the Mavs were a top 10 defense the entire season. This past year, they were top 10 for the last like month and a half. In 21-22, when the Mavs scored below 120 per 100, they won half of their games. They were 30-30. If last year's team would have won half of their games whenever they were below 120, they would have been the number 1 seed in the West.
Wow.
Like, we're talking about a significant difference in win rate. So you need to be able to win ugly sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely be able to do that night in and night out and find ways to win ball games. The lesson that I think they learned last year that they'll carry into this year, and someone had brought it up in the chat as well, is experience is the best teacher. Luka Doncic and this team went through their first finals run. I know Kyrie Irving back in the finals for the first time in 7 years last year, but they now have the experience of going through a grueling playoff run and now having experience gone to the finals and playing under those bright lights, under the biggest stage that basketball has to offer. And now they can take that experience with them going into this year. They're going to get every team's best punch night in and night out. But now they have the experience of going through that regular season. Hopefully they'll be a little bit healthier with Kyrie and Luka throughout the course of the season as well. And then when you get to the postseason, you won't have those deer in the headlights. You won't have those necessary jitters that you had maybe going into this last year's run. You now understand what's expected of you to be able to have the kind of effect game in and game out to be able to win in the postseason. So sometimes you got to experience and go through these things in order to be able to be in position to win big. And hopefully that's something that they will carry with them from last year going into this year as well.
Like so much of what we talked about. So like the size matters thing is obviously about Lively and Gafford.
Sure.
But your note about experience, Kevin, Tim, your note about playoff experience, like all of that applies to Lively too.
Yes.
Like this is Luke and Kyrie's team and Klay Thompson is incredible and all that stuff. But like Derek Lively has the chance, if he's able to be the kind of player that we saw in the playoffs for an entire season, he has a chance to make this a big four, you know? And then you're gonna go to the finals again and you're gonna be really dang good. And like, you know, he is potentially the key to unlocking something greater than what we already anticipate.
Yeah. Folks in the chat as well, we've seen some of the ones that they've been putting up. Free throws matter. I saw that one because last year we know how much free throws definitely cost his team at particular times of the postseason. Also being in the experience factor as well. A lot of folks throwing up different ones as far as the lessons that the Mavericks learned going into this upcoming year. Hopefully they'll be able to take those with them as they get ready to make another run at the NBA Finals. Coming up here in just a moment, Naji Marshall season preview, a free agent acquisition for the Dallas Mavericks. What's in store for him as he gets ready to help this Mavericks team this upcoming year? But before we get there, Tim, talk to me a little bit about Roback.
Bobby, that's a nice polo.
Thanks.
But it's not as nice as it could be.
What do you mean?
Because I don't think it's Roback.
It's not.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's definitely not as nice as it could be. Because Roback, they have the best. They have the best polo. It's quite simple. They have the best fit. They have the best feel. The quality of their gear just speaks for itself. Does the quality of that shirt speak for itself?
The quality doesn't say anything on this shirt.
Unbelievable.
I feel like I'm missing out on something.
Their performance polos perform better in the heat than any other polos. And over here out here with a polo that just does okay in the heat. Roback polos, they're moisture wicking, so the polo doesn't stick to you, and they have such a nice stretch. Their everyday shorts are also perfect. For the combo, for a day on the move, they look clean, but they use the comfort of an elastic waistband. They're the best looking, they're the best fitting performance polos. They're great for golfing or for doing studio shows, perhaps at DLLS. Their collars never lose their shape, and they have it all. Like every type of print you can imagine. They have classic stripes and fun prints, but they also have solids, like the one you're wearing. So use the code DLLS20 on Roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with code DLLS20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have.
I need to load up, man.
You do?
Yeah, sounds like you do.
And you can get 20% off while you load up.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good deal.
Sounds like a great deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing? Your nonsense, non-Roback polo.
I'm just wearing a sticky shirt that's staying silent.
Where'd you get that from?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't remember.
All the money he saves by getting good floors.
Did some trickster on the street approach you with a inferior polo? You can't trust those charlatans.
They're known to do
Your
that.
Your read is over, Tim. Get to the floors, Bobby.
Bobby kept saying.
Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday, but at Empire today, flooring is all they do. So you can be confident that you're getting honest and upfront advice. And the best thing is you don't have to go to a big box store to do it. You can shop for floors where you use your floors with their convenient shop at home service. They have a virtual floor designer. You can literally just like point your phone, take a picture of your floor, boom. You know what your new kitchen's going to look like. You know what your new bathroom's going to look like. You know what your new guest room's going to look like. Your studio at the DLLS headquarters is going to look like. At Empire, their philosophy is to help find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices or thousands of substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. And best yet, they service their own warranties. So if an issue does arise, in the unlikely event that an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service all warranties themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number or like get the flooring equivalent of a dine and dash where dude is just going to drop some stuff in your living room and then bounce. You're never going to hear from him again. No, Empire will take care of you. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code DLLS. Restrictions may apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS to save $350. And if all else fails, just dial the number. You know it. It's 800-588-2300. Empire
today. Appreciate you, Bobby. Coming up here in just a little bit, are the Mavericks the deepest team in the NBA? And which players are you looking most forward to watching this upcoming year outside of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? But, gentlemen, we continue our season previews for this upcoming year, and we get to a guy that's now a new member of this Dallas Mavericks team, and Naji Marshall coming over from the New Orleans Pelicans, completing his fourth season last year with New Orleans, now has a chance to replace Derrick Jones Jr. to have an impact on this team. Bobby, talk to me about the statistical profile of our guy Naji Marshall heading into this upcoming year.
Last season averaged 7.1 points, 3.6 rebounds, 1.9 assists in only 19 minutes per game. He is kind of lauded for his ability to make plays, whether it's fast break, point forward stuff, out of dribble drives. He's got a good floater game. So he can be a dynamic player on offense, but we're really kind of helped his career take a big step forward. Last season is shooting a career-high 38.7% from three, helped get him up to 54.2 effective field goal percentage. Specifically, he was very good in the corners. More than half of his attempts came from the corner last year, and he shot 42% on those. That is obviously a massive component of this Mavs offense, and if you can't shoot from there, it's going to be hard to fit in. But they hope he does fit in because he's in the first year of a 3-year, $27 million contract.
Mm-hmm. Naji Marshall last year, has a 6'7" wingspan, or 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan, 26 years old, can handle the ball, shot 38% from three last year. Didn't necessarily on a lot of volume, but Tim, there's going to be a lot more expected of him this upcoming year. As we mentioned, filling in for now Derrick Jones Jr., who's departed to the Clippers. What are you looking for based on what we know about him and what he can add to this team for the Mavericks this year?
What's one thing we know about this show? We love Iztok Franco.
We do love Iztok. Shout out to Iztok.
How was that? We do love.
Yeah, I know. My bad.
We're all
a little
doing it
glitch
today.
there. Yeah,
we're all a little bit off
glitchy.
with the syntax.
I love you, Iztok Franco. I love you. Yes.
Iztok is the best.
He is the absolute best.
Would you like to hear some Iztok stats?
Yes.
And by the way, Iztok has a Substack called Diggin' Basketball. digginbasketball.substack.com. Great place. I'm signed up. You should be too. If you want to learn about basketball and through the lens of the Mavericks. Anyway, so he had a really interesting stat about Naji Marshall and his three-point shooting. And he compared a bunch of players from 2021 to 2024, so the past 3 seasons. And Naji Marshall, he takes 6.1 threes per 100 possessions. That's about a 3 more. That's 1 3 per 100 more than Josh Green and Derek Jones.
Okay.
Josh Green and Derek Jones are players we know have been hesitant to shoot over the past few years. We've seen this in Dallas, and it's been an issue for them at times. So he takes already a little bit more volume. And you've got to remember, Derek Jones for a season, Josh Green for the entirety of his time here, played next to Luka Doncic. Naji did not. That's an important thing to note. Because, and I think it shows up here, he had a really interesting stat, which was percentage of heavily contested threes. Basically, are you willing to shoot with a defender right in your face? Josh Green and Derek Jones very rarely were willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Jones would do it maybe only after he's made one and he's feeling good about his shot. He's rarely ever going to open a game that way. And if he misses one, he's going to be driving off it the whole time. Josh Green, similar story, a lot of confidence. So Derek Jones only took 25% of his threes were heavily contested over the past 3 years. Josh Green, 35%. Naji Marshall, 40% of his shots. So he's already taking more threes, but he's also taking more heavily contested threes, meaning he is more willing to stand in there with somebody rushing at him, flying at him, put that shot up anyway. And, we finally saw the percentage rise last season, and there still are questions about how much that's going to carry over. He has not been that type of three-point shooter up to this point, up until last season. But I think that just really stands out in a very positive way, that this is someone who his underlying numbers do indicate that he's going to stay in there, he's going to shoot, and he's finally going to be in a three-point environment, an offensive system that is producing open shots for him in a way that he's never seen before. He's never consistently gotten before, and I think that is something that's really encouraging about him.
And he's just going to be in a system where it's kind of predictable, even if Luka or Kyrie is out, right? It doesn't have to be both of them on the floor. Maybe one of them isn't even playing that night. The Mavs still play the same way, generally. Whereas the Pelicans, man, over the last few years, my God, you got Zion in or out. That dramatically changes what they want to do on offense, right? Basically, the only consistent thing with the Pelicans over the last few years is having Valanciunas in at the 5. And he does eat up some space. They try and turn him into a stretch big, but nobody really respects it. So there's not a lot of space on the floor for them. Brandon Ingram isn't shooting threes. CJ McCollum is nominally the point guard, but he's not really a point guard. So there's just a lot of, and they're all in and out of the lineup all the time. So
and Valanciunas is not even there anymore.
Yeah, he's not there anymore. But but there's just such a big well, okay, who's playing tonight? Where are my shots going to come from if I get any at all? Who's running the show here? What are we doing here?
Jose Alvarado.
Yeah, man. I mean, and
I will say, Jose Alvarado is really effing good, and I do think Naji really benefited playing next to him. Mm-hmm. But he's Jose Alvarado, not Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, it's not Kyrie or Luka. Yeah, and so it's when the quality of your point guard play is lower than it will be here, when the consistency of the offense is much lower. I don't know, much more inconsistent.
Consistency of your offense
is not as much. is lacking.
There's much more consistency
when you have it less, when you're playing in a less consistent offense.
Yeah, it just doesn't lend itself to consistent performance, consistent production. So we'll see how he can do in not to diminish what the Pelicans did, because they were really good. They beat the brakes off the Mavs a few times over the last couple of years, but in a more concrete, defined role within the offense.
Yeah,
Well, I've got some more stats. You go ahead.
I was going to say real quick, one of the things I loved about what you were talking about in terms of the contested threes is that he's a willing shooter. And sometimes we have questions about guys coming off the bench and their willingness and confidence to take three-pointers. It doesn't sound like Naji Marshall has that problem, and that's going to be a good thing for the Mavericks.
Another thing that stands out about him is his self-creation, his ability to create his own shot. When Josh Green or Derek Jones are passing up threes, that means that either they have straight driving lanes or I really don't think a good basketball thing is about to happen. Either they get directly to the rim because they're passing up the shot and they're driving, attacking the closeout. But I just never had a lot of faith, a little bit more faith in Josh Green than Derek Jones. And Derek Jones, had his moments when he had a clear lane to the rim. That's not Naji Marshall. Naji Marshall is a good player off the dribble. So these also come from Istok Franco's Substack, Diggin' Basketball. And so he compared a bunch of players and average dribbles taken. Naji Marshall 2.0. That's slightly better than Josh Green's 1.9. So per every touch, this is the average amount of dribbles you would take on this touch. A lot of times you're touching it and passing it right back out. But obviously the higher you are on this, the more it indicates that you're willing to put the ball on the floor, attack, drive, and sometimes keep your dribble. If Derek Jones is putting it on the floor, it's going to be 1 or 2 dribbles.
Yeah.
And if it's any more than that, you're in trouble. But Naji averaged more dribbles than Josh Green, than Quentin Grimes, than Grant Williams, like more than double Grant Williams, more than double Dorian Finney-Smith. Self-created shots. Naji Marshall self-created 50% of his shots. I'm guessing these are 2-pointers. Not sure exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he's not pulling up from 3.
Yeah, exactly. But, drives per 100 possessions. Naji Marshall, 10 per 100 possessions. Do you know how that compares to Josh Green? Josh Green had 8. Quentin Grimes had 5.
Wow.
Derek Jones Jr. had 3.4. So Naji is driving 3 times as much as Derek Jones ever was. He is somebody who is able to, get to a mid-range shot. He is able to get to a floater. He's able to get to the rim a little bit. He's not a great finisher. He's an okay finisher at the rim. He just, he could get there a little bit more. But this is somebody that if he is passing up a 3-point shot, this is me rounding out my point. It's good that he stays in there and he takes threes when he needs to. But if he's passing them up, you have more belief that he's passing it up for a good reason and he's about to do something good with the ball. So I just have so much more faith in Naji Marshall being open, catch and shooting or being in a catch and shoot position, getting the ball from Luka, and knowing that something good is going to happen. I have much more confidence than Josh Green or Derek Jones in that same situation.
Shout out to Felipe for the super chat. He's got a question when it comes to Naji Marshall. Will Naji Marshall's 4+3 have 4+3s this year? Love the show. Shout out to Felipe.
Thank you for the kind words, Felipe.
Super chat.
I'm assuming it means will he take more?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely not makes. Nobody makes 4. Will he attempt more than 4? Has he ever done that? He's never done that in his career.
I would say last year he shot just under 3 attempts from 3 per game. So we're talking about, we're less than 3 already.
What did Jones take last year as a reference? Last year, Jones took 3.1 per game and played about 24 minutes. I could see Naji getting about 24 minutes.
Especially if he's a much more willing shooter, it appears, based off of what we've been learning about
will he get 4? I don't know, because if he shoots well enough to be a good shooter, then I don't know if they're going to leave him open enough to where he's going to get it's like that weird thing of if you're open.
Paradox.
Yeah, it is a paradox.
Yeah.
Like the better you are, ostensibly the fewer attempts you'll get, but also I would think with the way that he's going to be spotting up in the corner, if he's making his first 2 or 3 shots of the game, they're probably going to sell out to keep him from shooting, which means we can see that dribble drive game. You can introduce a little more dynamic play in the offense. Because here's a stat, Tim, for this isn't
you
from
got stats too?
Yeah, so
because y'all going stat for stat today.
Midway through last season, Derek Jones already had more points off drives from spot up opportunities than Reggie Bullock did in his entire time as a Mav. So the Mavs are getting more and more dynamic season by season at that corner 3 spot. And Naji is probably the most dynamic because not only can he shoot it, but also he can drive, finish himself,
you can
or
attack
drive
closeouts,
and pass and make simple reads that way. So he is kind of like the connector that Josh Green is, not quite the finisher that Jones is, but certainly the line drive finisher that Jones is. And then hopefully the shooter that Reggie Bullock is, or at least close to it. I mean, that's a lot wrapped up into one. He has a chance to be really, really impactful.
Y'all they call him a knife for a reason.
I think this was the 2022 conference finals against the Warriors. Reggie Bullock, randomly, a guy who never drives or dribbles, put it on the floor from the corner and yammed on someone.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I remember that.
That was the most touching wood to make sure I'm still in reality moment. one of the most one of those moments I've ever had covering any game in my entire
I
career.
loved Reggie Bullock.
Yeah.
Great dude, really, really good player, and gave his all here for the Mavs. But yeah, I mean, I think, you need to be dynamic. You need dynamic players on offense. Otherwise, everything just becomes a little too stagnant, a little too predictable.
Let me one last point to close out this point, but also shout out Felipe. You're a real one. By the way, 41 cents or 77 cents. It's an idea. Just ending it with that. Yeah, I want to see if we can make that more, a bit.
Huh?
Well, you can drop it down to 9.77. I'm not asking for more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, asking for less. What? Geez, man.
How about I would say 11.77 or more. What are we doing here?
Pay 23 cents to the company to sustain this bid.
Ben, did you hear that?
Oh,
Ben,
wow. Okay.
Ben, where's Ben at? Where's our ball?
Anyway, I think it's going to come down to, is he going to take 4 threes per game? It's just going to come down to his minutes. How much is he actually playing? Per 36 minutes, Naji has taken more than 4 threes every year of his career, all 4 years he's been in the NBA, topping out at 5.1 threes per 36 minutes. He's just never played that many minutes.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me that Naji is going to play, I think he'd have to play 28 plus minutes to feel like, I think his threes are going to rise a little bit in this offense. Even with that paradox, like you said, I still think he's a better player to leave open than some others. I think he's going to shoot a few more threes, but it's going to come down to, is he playing 26, 28, 30 minutes on a regular basis? If he's only playing 24, 22, just by volume, just by, how much he's on the court, it's just, he's not going to quite be up there. But I do think he's going to shoot more threes per minute than any previous year in his career.
More on Naji Marshall and his season preview coming up here in just a moment. Also, are the Mavericks the deepest team in the league? One owner in the league says that his team is the deepest. I don't know if we necessarily agree with it. We'll find out here in just a moment. But before we get there, Tim, talk to me a little bit about FOCO.
I love FOCO. I was just on the FOCO site, and they sell gnomes.
I love gnomes.
They sell gnomes. Where's a good gnome? Here is a Can I show this to the screen? Here is a Michigan Wolverine gnome.
Let's go.
I don't know how
blue.
well you can see that,
Look
but that's a Michigan Wolverine gnome.
Wow.
Where else are you gonna go buy a Michigan gnome? I might get one for TN.
You should.
Yeah, I think
look
that'd be.
at that.
Yeah. I think that'd
Establish
be
some goodwill with Mavs PR.
Look at you.
Absolutely.
I'm like
So,
Bobby these days.
look,
Just kidding.
if you want to get fitted out in the best sports gear around, hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, gnomes, and everything else in between, going to a basketball game or a hockey game, show off your love with a team-branded friendship bracelet. Whether it's jackets, beachwears, or even overalls, there's something for fans for almost every occasion. Check out foco.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, use the promo code DLLS10 for 10% off.
And after you use that money that you saved on getting some cool FOCO stuff, you can go over to Sleeper to download the best app when it comes to your fantasy football needs and fantasy football leagues. Sleeper, the app for hosting the best fantasy football leagues in the game, now allows you to put your knowledge to the test in every game by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Cowboys taking on the G-Men on Thursday Night Football. I'm taking Dak Prescott to have more than 200 passing yards, CeeDee Lamb to have more than 50 receiving yards. I might even take Devin Singletary to have more than 57 rushing yards as well. Based on the Cowboys' rushing defense, you might want to hit the over on that when it comes to Devin Singletary's rushing yards. Relax, Cat. We don't want to necessarily see that happen. But at the same time, we want you to go to Sleeper, known for making it happen. When it comes to more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use code DLLS Mavs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Are the Mavericks the deepest team in the league this upcoming year? One owner says that his team is actually the deepest in the league. And a little bit later on, who's your favorite players that you're looking forward to watching this upcoming season outside of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? Mavericks, of course, really deep this year. We've been talking about Naji Marshall. One real quick thing I wanted to add with Marshall as well. We talked about a guy that's 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan. This is a former undrafted guy as well who's had to carve out his own path in this league and has really developed into a guy that you feel like is going to be a tough, rugged defender as well. Provide a little bit of nasty, a little bit of attitude on that side of the ball. That's one of the things that we've talked about this team in terms of having that dog in them this upcoming year. I feel like Naji Marshall is going to be providing some of that as well with the way that he likes to get after it on the defense end. We talked a lot about what he can do offensively in terms of the three-point shooting, dribble driving and some of those things. I'm really excited to see what he does on the defensive end because for that second unit, I think he's going to set a tone and a presence on the end of the floor for the Mavericks this year.
Yeah, there is kind of this I think based on who they have coming off the bench, you want the opposing team to react kind of like LeBron did when Kawhi checked back in the 2014 finals. Like, oh my God, come on, really? You got Naji coming in on the wing. That's an annoying dude to go up against.
Yes.
Big, strong hands. He's gonna rip it right from you, as you're trying to make a move.
He's a big steals guy.
Yep. Quentin Grimes. Oh my God, I can't believe this guy's coming in the game. Now he's gonna be pestering me all the way up the floor. This is gonna suck so bad. Maxi Kleba. Ooh, I can take him off the bounce, and then you can't. And he humiliates you. Daniel Gafford, big and strong. Oh my God, he's gonna get every single freaking rebound now. Dante Exum, unsuspecting guy that all of a sudden is gonna bang half the threes that he takes. I think everybody off the bench kind of has that sort of maybe unsuspecting but really annoying impact. Maybe that is their collective attitude. Maybe that is going to be their thing. The Mavs' bench is super annoying.
Yeah, and that's what you want to be able to put teams in a bind with your second unit. And then when that first unit starts to come back in, now, and we've talked about this too, is winning those non-Luka minutes. Can you at least be even by the time Luka gets back into the game? And one of the ways you can do that is to be really effective on the defensive end. And it gets us to this because Tillman Fertitta, the Rockets governor, recently said that he feels like his Rockets are the deepest team in the league, which made me think, we've been talking a lot about on this show about how deep the Mavericks are given what they've added with Naji Marshall and Quentin Grimes, adding Spencer Dinwiddie as well. We look at other teams like the Knicks over in the Eastern Conference, a really deep team as well. Oklahoma City, who we feel like is going to be at the top of the West this year. But it really poses the question, gentlemen, are the Mavericks the deepest team in the league, given what we've talked about 1 through 10, maybe even 1 through 12, about the amount of guys that they can put on the floor, and you can feel good about them providing you 10 to 15 solid minutes every single night based off of what this team has, Bobby?
Yeah, for the regular season, I think I don't know about the deepest, but they're certainly one of the, maybe they are just the deepest. I don't really know. OKC is really deep. The Celtics are pretty deep.
Are you still saying Dallas, or are you?
Dallas.
Yeah.
I don't think
Houston
the Rockets are.
They're kind of deep. I get what he's saying. That doesn't mean they're good.
Yeah, we have a lot of players.
we got a lot of players.
Yeah, deep just means you got a lot of playable players. They're pretty deep, but not they're high in talent.
Yeah, the Mavs, depending on Dwight's form and Dwight's level of fitness, the Mavs have 12, 13, 14 guys on any given night that they can put in an NBA game credibly and not just be like, oh my God. That. Not many other teams can say that. Not even Boston can really say that. Boston's top 8 is unquestionably incredible.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Which matters the most during playoff time. If you've got 8 guys that you feel really good about, Porzingis was so damn good for them. He became kind of their 5th option.
Yeah.
And we're
talking 11, 12
your top
guys.
end stuff is most important for the postseason, but in the regular season, size matters and being deep matters.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. Jeez.
What?
Nothing. Other folks.
No, that's true about the regular season.
That's very true about the regular season.
It is true. The Mavs are really big. The Mavs are really thick. They're just
why
really good team.
Why are y'all looking at me like that?
I don't know why we're. Anyway, some folks have also thrown in from Eric. I'm interested in hearing who you think is deeper. Pause. Relax, Eric. Some other teams that have been named: the Knicks. We've talked about the Celtics a little bit. Oklahoma City, Boston.
Are the Knicks deep? After losing Hartenstein and with Randall out and with Mitchell Robinson out, I guess we're going to find out how deep they are.
Yeah, because Robinson won't be ready to start the season for the Knicks, as we reportedly heard. The Clippers are already having issues. You want to talk about the depth on their roster. Kawhi Leonard already having issues. He had a knee procedure that he may not necessarily be ready by the time they start the regular season as well. So from Andrew, for the regular season, they're easily the top 3 deepest team in the league, to which I think you were saying about basically what they have going into the regular season.
Yeah, I think OKC can definitely go 10 or 11 deep. I think the Mavs can go 10, 11, 12 deep.
I feel like Minnesota's a fairly deep team as well. Maybe.
They
got the Randy 6-man.
Anderson.
Yeah, Anderson's gone now.
This is some weird noises.
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson, he doesn't play there anymore.
Yeah.
I guess the Warriors are pretty deep. I mean, the Warriors are kind of deep like the Rockets are, where they can roll out a lot of guys.
Right.
I'm not sure how good they're going to be, but like, they got 10 guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess
I couldn't name them all right now, but I promise.
Were you going to try and name them all?
Well, they have DeAnthony Melton and Kyle Anderson. They got some new guys in there.
Yeah.
I guess the one question is it better to be deep with a lot of versatility where you have different skill sets on the roster? Because I do feel like Dallas has a lot of playable players, but you're never going to play Hardy, Exum, and Dinwiddie together. Like all three, you could play two of them together, but
because they do have a ton of guards.
But they have a lot of overlap, and I think that's ultimately good, especially when you're so reliant on Luka and Kyrie. But I just think I don't know. I mean, I would love like one more big shooting forward, someone who is like Maxey but flipped, where he's okay at defense and much better on offense.
All of their bench guards are different though. Like
that's true.
Dinwiddie, Hardy, Exum, Grimes, all different, even though they're all kind of the same size. Quick anecdote. All right. So my first year covering the Mavs is 2013-14. So this is a few years after the title, but you know, there's still some of the guys around and like still kind of the same team attitude and stuff. The Mavs had these little pieces of paper in every locker, and it said the three things that, like, this was the team's identity was spelled out on this piece of paper. And one of the things was the Dallas Mavericks have the best bench in the NBA. And, you know, that year and the following year, your second unit in those days was like Dirk would play with them. DeJuan Blair was your backup big, JJ Barea, Devin Harris, you know, and even like the year that the Mavs were awful before they got Luka, they won 24 games. Their bench lineup was so good that they actually had to stop playing in the second half of the year because it was winning them too many games. It was JJ, it was Devin, Yogi Ferrell, Doug McDermott. They ended up trading Devin Harris for Doug McDermott, Dirk, and Dwight Powell. It was literally the best or second best net rating lineup in the NBA that season. They stopped playing it because they were too good. But that kind of thing is an attitude, right? The Mavs' bench in those days did play distinctly different than the starting lineup. I'm not sure that the Mavs' second unit this year will play distinctly different because so many of those minutes will have Luka or Kyrie on the floor with them. Mm-hmm. But I guess as the Mavs' bench attitude this year is continue to be an extension or maybe a more annoying extension of the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Be a little more annoying on defense, but still have that same immaculate spacing and very, very, very strong finishing around the rim. Kind of maintain that same attitude on offense, but just turn up the feistiness on defense.
Yeah, because you got guys like for PJ Washington, that's kind of akin to Naji Marshall in terms of the physicality that they'll bring on the defensive end. Obviously, Lively, Gafford, being able to finish around the rim, being good defensively on that side of the floor. Like, you've got guys that you feel like, based on their pairs, you can feel good about the bench coming in, sustaining what has already been built by the first team. And then by the time that first team gets back in there, they're not playing from behind or feeling like they have to catch up from what they were not able to get from that second unit coming off the bench. The continuity that this team is going to have on both their first units and second units is going to be massive for them to be able to maintain that kind of consistency throughout the regular season, in my mind.
I've got one more random Naji thing to throw out there if you guys are interested.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about this. Someone mentioned it in the comments when we were talking about him at some point, but you guys know Panda Hank?
Yeah.
And not personally, but I'm aware.
Yeah, I don't know him personally either.
Love his highlight videos that
he does good YouTube Mavericks-centric content, and he did one that was just a supercut of flashy and effective Naji passes. You guys see that?
I did see this, yes.
Yeah. And that's fun. It reminds me a little bit of Josh Green, but I think
a little less manic.
I'm about to say, you probably trust Naji a little bit more with the ball in his hands to handle it.
If you're somebody who can put the ball on the ground and keep your dribble alive and get to a mid-range shot, that means that your passing is much more functional. And so that was the problem with Josh Green, was he didn't get a chance to use this passing very often. It was pretty much fast break stuff. You know, I remember his first season when he was really when he was breaking into the rotation. I remember he had just a fantastic game in Miami.
Yeah.
He had a superb game, and he was making some Luka-style passes. he always had that ability. He always had a very good spatial awareness, but his handles and his, just his ability to be dangerous with the ball in his hands was never there to the extent that passing would flash, or would only flash every so often. I think Naji is going to be able to do that a little bit more. And I think it's an exciting little wrinkle. It's always fun when you have a role player who can do something that's fun and isn't what you expect.
And can guard multiple guys on the defensive end as well. Like he can guard positions 1 through 4, and you can feel pretty good about his ability to do so on that end of the floor. Naji Marshall expected to have a big role on this team this upcoming year as he helps that Mavericks second unit be able to keep things effective for them this upcoming year. Coming up here in just a moment, what players are you most excited to watch this upcoming year outside of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? By the way, I see over 70 people watching this YouTube video right now. Make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing here on DLLS Sports. Did you like the video? Thank you.
I put a like.
I liked it as well. So make sure you're liking the video here at DLLS Sports for all things DLLS Mavs. But before we get there, Bobby, talk to me about becoming a diehard member here at DLLS Sports.
Yeah, how about Andrew in the chat saying yesterday that he signed up to be a diehard?
He sure did.
Shout out Andrew.
Also, shout out to Mac Lavelles, who became a diehard at 4:44 this morning.
Should we be saying full names?
Maybe not. But shout out to Mac.
Shout out Mac.
Maybe Mac just
What's
got.
up, Mac?
Maybe Mac is an early
Thanks.
riser, or maybe Mac doesn't live in Dallas. Maybe Mac lives somewhere east of here, where it's a little later in the day.
Shout out to our
than it is
international
right now.
watchers and listeners of our show and our podcast as
Yeah,
well.
and when you become a diehard, you go to alldls.com/diehard. It's less than $7 a month. A shirt will be mailed to you at some point in the future. And
I'm loving mine.
You can read all of our stuff on our website. You get discounts on merch. You get discounts on future events like tailgates. We're going to be doing some watch parties, which are free to attend. But if you want priority access to tickets for game takeovers, like we sell game tickets as a group, tailgate parties as a group, then becoming a diehard is the thing for you. You can also join the Discord. I haven't checked the Discord today outside of the Just Positive Vibes channel because it's a little gloomy and we all need some positive vibes in our life. And there's a lot of good stuff to feel, a lot of good stuff to feel good about.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with words today, Kevin.
Well, you can get a physical diehard card as well when you become a diehard member here at DLLS Sports. 20% off events, incredible merchandise, member-only Discord, pre- and post-game shows, premium content on our website as well. That's all DLLS.com/diehard. Be like Ben, become a diehard as well. Shout out to Andrew, who has ordered his Skyline shirt. He's ready for his Skyline.
That's a good choice, Andrew.
Yeah, to come in as well.
Shout out Andrew.
So all the things and
Andrew.
benefits. Your favorite Andrew, apparently. Yep, your favorite Andrew. Shout out to all of you who are diehard members. Become a diehard member today at alldlls.com/diehard. Today, as we finish up our show, we are just days away from training camp for your Dallas Mavericks. I see y'all in the chat asking about where Mark Stein is. Don't worry, he'll be with us here in the next couple of days on the show, and he'll also be getting ready for training camp as well in Las Vegas. Media Day for your Dallas Mavericks on September 30th. We will be hanging out, covering all things for the Mavericks when it comes to Media Day as well this upcoming week. But there's also a lot of players that we're excited to watch outside of just Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, also who's a new member of your Dallas Mavericks. Let us know in the chat, who are you most excited to watch this upcoming season outside of Luka, Kyrie, Klay around the NBA as we get ready for a brand new season in the association? Tim Cato, who are you looking most forward to watching this year?
Wembanyama.
Victor Wembanyama.
Sorry, I'm pretty intrigued with that guy. I think he might have a future in this league.
I think we're all pretty intrigued with what Wemby's going to be doing in the next several years.
I like watching players do things I've never seen before and did not think were physically possible. So Wembanyama is an easy first answer.
Remind me, what game was it? I think it was against Milwaukee, or I can't remember, but he ran a fast break by himself where he took the ball, went behind his back, and wound up yamming on somebody. And I'm just like, hey, man, somebody who's that tall and that big shouldn't be able to go around the world behind the back and then yam on somebody to finish off a play. Like, Victor, I know we're not trying to wax poetic about the Spurs all the time because it's not good business around here, but Wembanyama is going to be a monster to watch over the next decade.
He dunks like it is the most simple. He dunks like he's like closing the door of a refrigerator. Yeah. It's just like it's the simplest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's so scary. He scares me, but not really. I'd be his friend, I think.
You would be his friend?
Yeah. Yeah.
You just feel like you would be friend Victor Wembanyama?
Do you think that he would want to be your friend?
Less sure about that, but I'm not going to rule it out.
Okay.
I'm not ruling it out outright. I think there's a possibility.
All right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eric. He says he wants to watch Derek Lively play this year. So
okay.
I'm looking forward to see his growth.
Yeah, if I'm going non-Mavs division, I want to talk about Steph Curry for a little bit here.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm not
Clay's old teammate.
Yeah, I'm not unique for thinking, hey, it's fun to watch Steph Curry. I was not the first person to come up with that idea or to feel that way. But the last time Steph played a season without Klay Thompson, he led the league in scoring. Now, this was a few years ago.
Oh, wow, he did, didn't he?
But imagine a world where now the Warriors are down a 20-point-per-game scorer or whatever Klay got last year, and Steph doesn't want to not make the playoffs. Are we going to see him take 23s a game? Like, what is their offensive system is going to have to change quite a bit, unless it's a lot of Jonathan Kuminga or something. Like, maybe they're going to play a completely different style of basketball.
I'm intrigued by Brandon Bajemski this year, too.
He's a really good player.
Yeah, I like him.
But I think Steph is my answer. Like, you check the Warriors box score, he's taking 15 threes a game most nights. Like, he literally might take 20 a game this year.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect, but I will be there no matter what.
There's no reason for him not to.
I mean,
yeah.
Like I said, he might have to based on what they're going to ask to do.
Just do
offensively every night.
I will say my gut impression is that Klay's not going to help him shoot more threes, or the absence of Klay is not.
Well, it's not going to enable him to shoot more threes, but it's like, okay, it's one less shooter that defenses are going to fear. It's one guy that is doing motion stuff, and then Steph is also running around, and like so if anything, there will be
leads the league in assists.
Maybe he will, but there will be more attention paid to Steph, but also there's a greater demand for guys to shoot. So in 2021, Steph took 12.7 threes per game. He averaged 32 points per game that year.
Jeez.
He will take more than 12.7 this year, and I believe that's the most in a season ever by anybody. And he's going to top it easily. He might average 15 a game this year.
On a per minute basis, what's his most? 2021, he was taking 13.4 per 36. Actually, per 100 is probably a better number.
He's going to
take 100 possessions.
He might have to take 14 or 15
per 100 possessions. And now per 100 is a basketball game on average is around 100 possessions. He was taking rounded up. He was taking 18 threes. If you played 48 minutes in a basketball game, he would average 18 threes.
Yeah, he's gonna take a ton of them.
Steph's gonna be 36 this year.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how much more he has left in the tank because offensively they're gonna be asking him.
He is 36. He turns 37 in March.
Okay, so
that actually made me feel old.
Steph Curry's gonna be 37 in March.
Okay, I don't love that.
I'm not just saying this so I could spam his name on the show, but. LeBron James.
LeBron.
40 years old, helping Team USA win a gold medal this year. LeBron going into this is year 22? 21 or 22?
I think 22.
Yeah, he's up to 22, I believe.
Year 22, we have never seen a player in the league at this physical prime be able to sustain it for 20 plus years. Like, yes, over the last 3 or 4 years, injuries have started to catch up with LeBron a little bit, but still the physical specimen that he is at this age, playing at the level that he is still playing at, I'm excited to see. We saw what JJ Redick said the other day about he's already announced his starting 5 for this upcoming year based off of
why.
Well, apparently on the Low Post podcast, he said that his starting 5 is going to be LeBron, AD, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, and D'Angelo Russell. That is going to be his starting 5. Last year, they went combined, I think it was 20-3 with those 5 in the starting lineup together. So apparently, JJ Redick feels like that's going to be his best 5 going into this year, and he's announced it to the world already.
This is the second time a head coach coaching a roster that has Christian Wood on it has announced a starting 5 long before training camp.
Makes you think.
And it didn't involve Christian Wood. Interesting. Just very interesting. I'm not saying there's any correlation or meaning behind this. I'm just saying twice as interesting. Also, I think Christian Wood's out for like 3 months to start the season.
I think his knee is not going to allow him to play.
But, that doesn't make my joke any worse. Thank you very much.
But I named LeBron because we, again, have never seen someone play this deep into their prime, play as well as they have with this kind of longevity. And I'm excited to see what he does in year 22 for the Lakers and what that means for them and that whole experiment with hiring a guy who has never coached a game in his life, hiring him literally off the bench to be, or off the television, cameras to be able to, coach a basketball team. But LeBron's one, Zion Williams is another one. Giannis, after not playing in the postseason last year, ready to see what kind of bounce back he has this upcoming year. There's a lot of guys that I think we're going to have some really interesting years based off of what they weren't able to do in the postseason, but now having a chance to be able to make an impact this upcoming year.
You want to talk about a team that is not very deep? Now, maybe the Lakers will prove me wrong or something, but that's a team that has some depth issues.
Yeah, they're very top heavy.
A lot rides on LeBron and AD.
And Max Christie.
And it's true about any team.
You pay him what, $36 million over 4 years?
They did give him a nice little deal, didn't they? Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
but they're saying we're going to be a development franchise, and we're also going to hang on to LeBron and AD forever. It's like, okay, so you're not going to be a development. You're just saying that to make people think your young guys are good, so that you can trade them for superstars.
One of those guys being LeBron's son and Bronny, who's on that team.
Should we go rapid fire and just name some more players we want to watch?
Sure. Okay.
Paolo Banchero.
I was going to say Franz.
Okay.
I love Franz, too.
I like both of them a lot.
I got to stop down on Orlando real quick.
Okay.
I love the way that they get after it defensively. Jamal Mosley, low-key, I kind of wanted to take over the job.
I like Jalen Suggs a lot, too.
Yeah, Jalen Suggs is good, but
really
they get after it defensively every night. Paolo Banchero and his offensive game, I'm ready to see that explode. Can they be a better three-point shooting team this year? Because Orlando does not shoot the three at all very well. I'm interested to see if they can be better from three.
Everybody's being like, well, they got KCP. KCP for a 3-and-D player is a really low volume three-point shooter. It's one, absolutely, he's a good shooter and he knocks down shots, but he is weirdly not, he's not going to have a Klay Thompson effect on their offense. Comparative to the shooters they have, yes, it's a good addition. I think it fits them really well. He doesn't have quite that level of shooting gravity. He is a spot up shooter. He's got a little bit of movement shooting to his game, but he is not someone that you have to sell out for. Even the best version of Quentin Grimes. I don't think he's that level of shooter. And best version, that stretch that Quentin Grimes. But just to contextualize that.
The Thompson twins.
Ooh, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch them. Which one are you more excited about?
Don't really care. I guess
can't tell them apart.
The Detroit one, because the Houston one plays for Houston.
The Houston one's better though. Asar.
Don't care.
No, that's all.
No, that's
I'm really dumb.
Yeah.
I want to watch Cam Thomas.
Cam Thomas is a straight up scorer.
Ardell.
Shout out to Ardell with another super chat. The $2.41 super chat.
Hell yeah.
Lakers will win the in-season crown and have a parade, probably.
Hey, they're defending champions. They got to defend their title. Don't go out sad now.
Or the NBA Cup that they're going to be attempting to win this upcoming year.
The oil money NBA Cup.
Oh,
I think is what isn't that what the isn't
it's presented by Emirates.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant to say. I want to watch Alperen Şengün. I want to see how he advances.
Alperen Şengün is a baller.
Yeah.
Baby Jokic.
I'm literally just going through a list of players in the NBA and finding some. I am actually curious how DeMar
Kate Cunningham
fits.
is another one for me. I'll drop
Kate is interesting. Local guy.
Yeah.
I'm interested how DeMar fits in Sacramento. I'm interested in how Keegan Murray develops. I think that's an interesting one.
Sacramento's going to score a bazillion points and give up a bazillion more every night.
I like Andrew Nembhard. I like God. What's the guy's name?
I'm surprised we haven't named Tyrese Halliburton yet.
I saw his name. Of course I'm excited, but I don't know. He's not like. I think he's a really good player, and he's just not like one of my guys.
Ben Shepherd.
He's not
the
guy.
Oh, the rookie from Houston
in Indiana.
Yeah, in Indiana. Yeah.
He's a real nice player.
I'm thinking about Reed Shepherd. I'm sorry.
I
think
do want to watch Reed Shepherd.
Yeah, Reed Shepherd's gonna be fun to watch.
Quick Ben Shepherd thing. So I went to the combine last year, and I was watching the scrimmages and all the drills and everything. And I got to the gym one day to interview someone. I don't remember. It was not a big deal. And there was a scrimmage going on, and I saw Ben Shepherd. Watched him for like 30 seconds. Was like. That guy is my
That's
kind of player.
That's your Max guy?
Yeah, did not know a single thing about him. That was my first time watching him play basketball, but I saw him do a couple things, and I was like, yep, that guy is really good. I looked at his rating, and he was rated like 84th best prospect. Way too low. Way too low. Pacers took him in the first round, and he looks like a legit player. I like all their role players in Indy.
from Andrew, how Philly integrates Paul George with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid this upcoming year.
I'm really in on Philly. I'm really curious about them, excited to watch them. They are, to me, the second best team in the East. I think they will finish as the second best. I think they will have the second best regular season record. I think they have enough to overcome some absences for Embiid. I really hope it's just
I feel you, Thomas.
For Embiid.
I'm excited for Reed Shepherd as well. He's going to be a fantastic watch in Houston. He's going to be able to fill it up quite a bit. He looked really good in Summer League. I was surprised at how natural his game looked in the way that he played in Summer League.
He was looking like me last night.
Oh, just lighting it up from the outside?
Wow. Kind of. I hit all my jumpers.
I thought you said you missed one.
No, I missed a layup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a layup I should have hit.
Excuse me.
It wasn't uncontested. I might have missed a putback too, so maybe I missed 2 shots. Maybe it was like 12 of 14.
The story is taking a turn by the minute here on DLLS. In fact,
you know who to ask.
That's how we'll end today's show with Tim Cato's game or shots he may or may not have hit last night in his game against 3-year-old basketball players. Whatever. We'll do better tomorrow here on DLLS Mavs. Mark Stein going to be doing this for a couple of segments this week on the Steinline here on DLLS Mavs as we get that much closer to Mavericks training camp next week. That's how we'll end our show for today, gentlemen. You guys good? Ready to get out of here?
I'm excited to watch Sam Merrill.
For Bobby, Tim, I'm Kevin. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.